Right now, at this exact second, millions of Americans are walking around with a piece of plastic in their pocket that is mathematically engineered to keep them broke forever. It feels like purchasing power, but it is actually the most perfectly designed financial money trap ever created in modern history. We are told these cards are essential tools for building credit, earning rewards, and finally achieving the American dream. Yet, behind the points and the cashback promises lies a predatory system that feeds directly on human psychology and financial blind spots. You've probably felt this before, that sinking, quiet panic when the monthly statement arrives and the balance is somehow much higher than you thought. It is not an accident that you feel this way, because the entire infrastructure of modern spending is built to ensure you never truly own your paycheck. But what if the game was completely rigged before you even swiped for the very first time? What you are about to discover is the hidden blueprint of the credit card industry, how it hijacked the global wealth system, and why the shiny rewards they give you are actually paid for by your own future. Once you see how this invisible cage actually works, every single purchase you make will look entirely different. To understand how deep this psychological manipulation goes, we have to look closely at the architects of this system. We like to think of a bank as a secure vault where we safely store our wealth, but they are actually the most sophisticated behavioral science laboratories on Earth. The modern credit card is their absolute masterpiece, functioning as a psychological wedge. It removes the physical pain of handing over hard-earned paper money, replacing it with a frictionless tap that entirely bypasses our brain's natural financial defense mechanisms. The system thrives and expands on an invisible enemy, the persistent illusion of affordability. The first person uses their card for absolutely everything, meticulously maximizing points, paying it off just in time, and believing they are brilliantly beating the banks at their own game. They feel smart, sophisticated, and convinced that they have hacked the system to generate passive income through rewards. Then there is the second person, who uses the card just to bridge the terrifying gap between paychecks, slowly watching the balance creep up, telling themselves they will definitely pay it off when the next bonus hits. Most people fall into the second category without ever realizing it, because the trap is so incredibly subtle that you don't even feel the steel jaws close. The system doesn't actually want you to default. It wants you to survive, barely, making minimum payments for the rest of your natural life. This is the exact money trap that powers Wall Street, turning everyday citizens into perpetual profit-generating engines for people who are already rich. The banks label the first person a deadbeat because they refuse to pay interest, and they label the second person a revolver. Revolvers are the absolute lifeblood of the entire credit empire, the foundation upon which executive bonuses are built. We are heavily conditioned by advertising to believe that having a massive credit limit means we are financially healthy, a status symbol pushed by society to keep us constantly spending the dollar. But a credit limit is not money you actually have. It is exactly how much debt the bank mathematically calculated you can carry before you mentally and financially break. And somewhere along the way, we all just accepted this leash as a completely normal, unavoidable part of adulthood. The true mechanics of this leash are hidden in plain sight, buried deep within the microscopic fine print of every single cardholder agreement. Let's look at the brutal, unforgiving mathematics of the minimum payment structure. When the statement inevitably arrives, the minimum payment is prominently displayed, often set to just 2 or 3% of the total outstanding balance. This is not a polite courtesy to help you during hard times. It is a psychological anchor. It actively tricks the human brain into seeing a massive, terrifying mountain of debt as a small, highly manageable monthly subscription fee. If you have a $5,000 balance at 20% interest, and you only pay the minimum, it will take you over 2 decades to pay it off, and you will pay more than double the original amount in pure interest. The bank is quite literally taxing your future labor to pay for your past emotional impulses. The entire financial system is deliberately designed to keep the principal balance perfectly preserved, like an ancient museum exhibit, while extracting a heavy monthly rental fee for the privilege of owing them money. We all promise to start aggressively saving next month and paying off the balance next week, but next month is a magical fantasy land where we are all rich, highly disciplined, and suddenly immune to marketing. That is the stark reality of human behavior, and the banks factor our tragic optimism directly into their quarterly profit margins. This brings us to the second, and perhaps most dangerous pillar of the trap, the complete removal of transactional friction. Historically, parting with your resources physically hurt. Counting out paper money activates the exact same pain centers in the human brain as physical injury, forcing us to deeply process the loss of wealth. Credit cards sever that vital neurological connection entirely, leaving us completely numb to the consequences of our spending. You simply tap a piece of plastic or scan your face on a phone, and a shiny package arrives at your front door the very next day. The financial pain is conveniently delayed by 30 days, but the intoxicating dopamine hit of the purchase is completely instantaneous. This temporal disconnect is weaponized against us on a massive scale every single day. We are making permanent financial decisions with our present, emotional brain, while eagerly handing the devastating bill to our future, stressed-out self. But here's the part nobody talks about, the truth that makes the whole system run. The entire consumer economy is fundamentally built on making you feel entirely inadequate so that you will utilize that frictionless credit to fix your feelings. The media, the algorithms, the subtle flexes on social media, they all actively collaborate to redefine what is considered a normal, acceptable standard of living. We finance vacations we absolutely cannot afford to impress people we don't even like, desperately trying to keep up with a digital illusion. We are buying useless things to fix deep internal anxieties, using a financial tool that perfectly multiplies that exact same anxiety. It is a flawless, closed-loop system of perpetual misery and extraction. Even our most deeply held childhood money beliefs are aggressively exploited by these institutions. If you grew up seeing money as scarce, a high-limit credit card feels like a miraculous escape hatch, a way to finally breathe. If you grew up seeing crushing debt as perfectly normal, you never even think to question the endless cycle. The Federal Reserve dynamically manipulates interest rates. Wall Street greedily packages this consumer debt into complex financial products, and the everyday American is left holding the bag, wondering why their paycheck vanishes before it even hits their checking account. The dark truth is, the system absolutely relies on your continued financial illiteracy. They desperately need you to misunderstand the sheer violence of compounding interest. They need you to hyper-focus on the monthly payment instead of the devastating total cost. Every single time you swipe for something you cannot easily buy in cash twice over, you are signing a binding contract to work hours, days, or weeks of your finite life for absolutely. But if the system is truly this rigged, why do the wealthiest people on the planet use credit cards for almost everything they buy? This is the exact crossroads where everything we just covered turns completely upside down. The wealthy do not see credit cards as a magical way to buy things they cannot afford. They see them strictly as a security buffer and a highly efficient administrative tool. Everything we just covered about the trap only works if you fundamentally understand this one hidden rule. The wealthy use credit to protect their cash, while the broke use credit to replace cash they simply don't have. That is the monumental paradigm shift that permanently separates generational wealth from generational debt. When a financially educated person swipes a card, the exact amount of money to pay for that purchase already exists in their account, quietly earning interest. They are purposefully using the bank's money for 30 days for absolutely free, effortlessly extracting the rewards, and paying the balance in full, automatically, without a second thought. They are the exact people the system actively loses money on, which is precisely why the system desperately needs millions of struggling revolvers to subsidize the luxurious perks of the wealthy. If you are currently carrying a balance from month to month, you are quite literally paying for the first-class flights and luxury hotel upgrades of the rich. You are not the customer, you are the product being harvested. The ultimate twist is that the credit card itself is not inherently evil or malicious. It is merely a powerful, unforgiving magnifying glass for your existing financial habits. If your habits are built on a severe lack of discipline and rampant emotional spending, the card will violently magnify your poverty. If your habits are built on strict, unemotional budgeting and flawless cash flow management, the card simply magnifies your returns. Most people live their entire lives and never realize that the battle isn't actually against Visa, MasterCard, or Wall Street. The true battle is against the weak version of themselves that desperately seeks instant gratification. To permanently escape the trap, you have to completely stop looking at a credit limit as personal purchasing power. It is not your money, and it never was. It is a fully loaded weapon, happily handed to you by a smiling stranger who is heavily betting you will eventually shoot yourself in the foot. And the absolute greatest trick the financial industry ever pulled was convincing you that holding that dangerous weapon makes you powerful and free. Once you finally realize that consumer debt is nothing more than a legal claim on your future physical energy, you cannot ever build true financial freedom while voluntarily giving away 20% of your wealth to an invisible landlord every single month. The system is masterfully designed to keep you asleep, happily and blindly swiping your life away until there is nothing left. But waking up to the reality of the game is only the very first step. Knowing the trap intimately exists doesn't automatically get you out of it. To successfully dismantle the trap and reclaim your financial sovereignty, you must meticulously reverse engineer the exact psychology that got you into it in the first place. The escape plan requires a cold, surgical approach, completely devoid of emotion or hesitation. First, you must immediately sever the deep emotional connection to your plastic by implementing a ruthless, localized freeze. You don't necessarily have to literally cut them all up, but you absolutely must remove every single saved card from your phone, your internet browser, and all your favorite addictive shopping apps. You must intentionally reintroduce the painful friction that the brilliant bankers worked so incredibly hard to eliminate. Force yourself to physically get off the couch, find your wallet in another room, and manually type in 16 digits for every single online purchase. The second vital step is to bravely confront the terrifying math by formally organizing your chains. You must list every single card, the exact outstanding balance, and the brutal, punishing interest rate attached to it. You then attack the debt using either the avalanche method, targeting the mathematically highest interest rate first to save the most money, or the snowball method, destroying the smallest balances first. It honestly doesn't matter which method you choose, as long as you attack the balance with the sheer, unbridled intensity of someone whose house is currently on fire. Because financially speaking, your house is actively burning to the ground while you sit on the couch watching Netflix. And step 3 is exactly where most people entirely give up. Here is the undeniable reason why. Step 3 requires building an ironclad cash barrier, a dedicated emergency fund that stands tall between you and the overwhelming temptation to simply swipe again. The plan was always sold as simple. Work hard, save your money, retire at 65. Nobody mentioned the part where that plan stopped working 30 years ago, and life constantly throws unexpected flat tires, medical bills, and broken water heaters at you. Without a dense cash buffer, the very moment an unavoidable emergency hits, you will run right back into the comforting, familiar arms of the credit card, completely resetting the entire trap. You have to aggressively save a bare minimum of 1 month's living expenses in a completely separate, painfully hard-to-access account. This specific pile of cash is your ultimate psychological armor. It allows you to look a terrifying emergency directly in the face and pay for it with money you already own, rather than money you desperately have to borrow from your exhausted future self. Finally, the fourth and most critical step is to fundamentally redefine your entire identity. You can no longer be someone who aggressively finances a lifestyle they haven't earned yet. You must evolve and become a cold, calculating manager of capital. If a purchase cannot be made in physical cash today, the purchase simply cannot be made, period. You are officially unplugging from the highly addictive matrix of modern consumerism. It will be painful, it will be incredibly boring at times, and you won't be able to easily show off your fake wealth to strangers on the internet anymore. But the deep, profound peace that eventually replaces the sickening panic of the monthly statement is the very first true taste of lasting wealth. Breaking the vicious credit card cycle is not just about organizing math and spreadsheets. It is fundamentally about reclaiming the unrecoverable hours of your life that you were blindly giving away to Wall Street. Every single dollar of consumer debt you permanently destroy is a tangible piece of your future financial freedom, bought back from the greedy system. You are finally taking the heavy leash out of their hands and putting it down for good. Remember that terrible, sinking feeling we talked about at the very beginning, that quiet, suffocating anxiety when the bill finally arrives in the mail. You never ever have to feel that way again. Most people will simply close this video, go right back to the exact same habits that keep them broke, and eagerly swipe their card tomorrow morning for a coffee they don't even need. But you are still here. Hit subscribe to join the Chanti Invests community and align yourself with the exclusive few who actually take action and build real wealth. But don't stop now. Escaping the credit card illusion is just the very first layer of the matrix. The entire global financial system is structurally designed to keep you highly leveraged and trapped. The next vital piece of the puzzle, the ultimate, terrifying truth about the debt trap, is waiting in the video on your screen right now. Click it, and let's begin the next chapter.